watched them bloom for me and you.
Within
Long leash.
yes. So again, just thank you. I know Saturdays are a day people like to spend with family, and you guys all must have a really good interest in caring about yourselves and your family and what's going on today in the world. And we have one of the best people in the world.
Well, hardly.
There's so much great information. I wish I could just suck it all out of them and just put it in here. But anyway, so no further ado.
Okay.
Aaron Spindelilus.
Okay, good to meet you all again. Thank you very much for coming out here. I think they told you, I just want to make sure to reiterate one last time. There's things here you can pay for. We're not here to push product. If you want it, great. If not, but at least everyone be aware of the one sign form, signature form on the far end there. Everything that, normally when I do these lectures, I like to give a lot of stuff away. Okay, I'm not giving you anything. The reason being is because I have so much information I want to give you that I would end up printing so much and I would almost invariably never have enough for everybody. So what we've decided to do today is I will go over everything here that you will actually be getting, but for anyone who wants this information, we will have it in a digital format for you in a PDF. If you will sign at the far one over there, you get it for free. We're not charging for the presentation, so you get a lot of information at no charge. If you want the DVD, obviously we have to charge a minimum $10 just to cover it, and blah, blah, blah. Don't talk about all the stuff. I don't care. Just, I want you to know that the presentation itself, the data is free. Please sign up, we'll get it for you. If you don't have an email and you can't get it, we will talk to you about printing, right, about getting it printed up for you, and then you can come by the clinic and pick it up. But we want everyone having access to this information. Got a little red dot? Okay. Okay. This one is a bit more of an unusual one from what I normally do. There is a big scare going around, so I want to go ahead and cover all the issues. I guess we live in the time of plagues. We are having more plagues than I think we've had in a very long time. When I say plagues, I literally mean we have plagues going. We have the Ebola going. We have the enterovirus going around. We've got the, which is both polio and not polio version of the enterovirus. We also have the West Nile virus, which is now actually here in Shasta County. West Nile virus is here. Okay, so we've got all those things. We've got flu season that's now here. Approximately 35,000 people a year die from the flu, okay, every year in the United States alone. It is completely unnecessary, and the flu virus does not, the flu vaccine does not stop it. It does not stop it. Even the CDC says at best, the flu vaccine is 25% effective. And then again, so I mean, 75% chance if you get the flu vaccine, it's not going to do a thing for you. So, all right, so having said that we live in the time of plagues, and the newspapers and the media are loving this. They are just pushing Ebola, we're all going to die. It's going to plague everybody. Is the government doing a bad job of it? Absolutely. You know, they are doing a very bad job of it because of all politics. But that's not the real issue here. It's the Ebola virus. Let's go through a few things. I'm going to tell you how stupid this all is, then I'm going to tell you, just in case, what happens if we do get something like that in our area. Because I don't know if you heard, even as of yesterday, a woman in Oregon is now hospitalized. And it looks pretty positive, I guess, that she has it, right? It's looking.
They're saying low risk.
They're saying low risk, but it's possible that she has it. So we could even have it as close as Oregon. Don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, having said all that, the Ebola virus at this point has killed over 5,000 people in West Africa, all right? They're estimating that that's probably a low ball, that it's probably more like 15,000 that it has actually killed. Okay, and in the United States, it has been one. One person has died in the United States. Okay, one person is a bad thing, but also 5 to 15,000 over there, one over here. Okay, I'm going to tell you how silly this all is, and then we'll talk about it seriously. Okay, after that. Okay, my wife downloaded some wonderful pictures. Okay, it's like, Ebola! Very, very scary thing. Okay? Keep everything in perspective. Each year, there's 300,000 deaths due to obesity. 300,000 deaths. Tobacco, 450,000 deaths every year. Alcohol, 88,000 deaths every year. And so far, we've had one Ebola. Okay? The other thing is, to put it a little bit more into perspective, this was a chart that you'll all be getting as well. Estimated U.S. deaths by cause. Okay, and this was in a 1 week period of time, from September 30th of this year to October 8th. Okay, it was that week that we had one Ebola death. But that very same week, we had almost 14,000 deaths from heart disease. That 1 week, that last week of September and the first week of October, almost 14,000 deaths from heart disease. Okay. Lung cancer, about 3,500 deaths. And the list goes on and on. Ebola, 1. Okay, so yes, it's a scary thing. Yes, we should be aware of what to do, but it's not as severe as the flu, not as severe as the West Nile, not as severe as the enterovirus. So let's just keep everything in perspective. I did not want to do this lecture so that I could take advantage of the scare and make lots and lots of money. This is to let people know that it's not actually as bad as they're making it out to be. But it is still something that we should be aware of. Okay, the Ebola virus, there are approximately 4 kinds of them in the world. Only 3 of them affect humans. All right, the 4th one basically just affects pigs and things of that nature, but 3 of the Ebola viruses types affect us. The one going around is the weakest of the 4. It is the weakest. So while yes, the Ebola is an incredibly virulent disease, this is the weakest going around. Almost every death that has occurred has been because of malnourishment. Okay, they're going to tell you, and they're going to tell you from their perspective, they'll say there is no known vaccine, thank goodness, and there is no known treatment for the Ebola virus. They're going to tell you there is no vaccine for the West Nile. There is no known treatment for the West Nile. There is no vaccine for the enterovirus. There is no known treatment for the enterovirus. That's their perspective. That's what they're telling you, that they have the only treatment that basically what they say is the standard supportive clinical care treatment. And what does that mean? And that what they're doing is exactly what you can be doing at home. So the West Nile, the Ebola, the enterovirus, all of them have no vaccine. All of them, the only care that they have for it is supportive clinical care. What does that mean? Staying well hydrated, keeping the nutrition level up. But the main thing is to keep them well hydrated with electrolytes, like Gatorade. I'm not recommending Gatorade because it is garbage, but there are lots of natural Gatorades. I've got recipes that you guys can even have on how to make your own. So the basic thing is letting the body's immune system take over and let it heal itself. You're hearing about this big thing now where they're starting to give blood transfusions to those that survived it, and they're seeing that they're suddenly getting better giving them the blood transfusions. They will tell you that is actually not the case. That is a media thing going around. Those that get the blood transfusions, some get better. Those that don't get the blood transfusions, some of them get better. What's getting them through it is your body's own immune system. There is nothing else that you can do for any of these diseases. None of these diseases that we hear on the news today have any kind of pharmaceutical treatment that works. None. 0. It's mainly keeping you well hydrated, well nourished, and then just dealing with the symptoms. So everything that they're doing out there is mainly symptomatic. They're dealing with the fevers, they're dealing with nutrition, so forth. So, wherever you'd like to go. So, what can we do to take care of these kind of things? Well, I'm going to go through them step by step, and then we're going to talk about what everyone else can do. So, let's talk about the most scary of them all right now, and then I'm going to go ahead, after we get done talking about all the little plagues going around and what we can do, and then I'm going to go ahead and talk about what happens, okay, and this sounds like a big scary event saying, well, what happens if we enter a period of time where you can't get your pharmaceuticals, you can't get your medications to take care of the illnesses you already have? Those will be things like high blood pressure, diabetes, blood thinners, anti-inflammatories. What do you do when you don't have those? And I'm not up here saying we're getting ready to enter martial law or civil war. I'm saying something as basic as a major earthquake, or one of the most telling events that occurred in the U.S. history in the past 5 years, basically, was Katrina. When Katrina hit, everybody thought, we're good, we're golden, we'll be able to survive. The average U.S. city in the United States has only 3 days supply of food. That's it. In 3 days, the average U.S. city, and I'm talking the size of L.A., San Francisco, Sacramento, Chicago, New York, they only have 3 days worth of food in their cities. That's it. That's all that there is. And so when they run out, people go crazy. Look at Katrina, look at New Orleans. In 5 days, that place was not a disaster. Yes, it was horrible from the hurricane, but the people themselves made it 100 times worse, because they started rampaging and killing each other, and then martial law came in. It's that kind of stuff. And did those people have access to ATMs? No. Did they have access to their drugs? No. Most of them did not have access to them. And a lot of them were destroyed in the storm. So we're going to be talking about that here in a little bit, what you can do for the basic issues that most people have, because almost everybody is on high blood pressure medication. Almost everybody is getting on some form of diabetic medication. There's a wonderful video out there I highly recommend everyone watch. It just came out just a short while ago, right? Very short while ago. Fed Up? Yeah, you can get it you can watch it on Amazon. I don't think it's on Netflix yet, but it's getting around. It's become very popular. It's called Fed Up, like I'm fed up with something. It's about the corruption of the food industry in the United States. One of the most telling lines that's in that video is there's approximately 600,000 food items in the United States. 600,000 different food products we can buy here. Over 80% of them, not just that they have sugar, over 80% of them have added sugar to them. And sugar is a very serious immunosuppressant. Sugar, processed sugar, simple carbs, like pastas and breads and things like that, and cookies and crackers and candy, they have already been shown to suppress the immune system. So when you eat those, you actually get weaker. Besides the fact that it wipes out your intestinal flora, we've talked about that with a lot. 70% of your immune system is right here in your intestinal flora. So you wipe that out, you've left yourself open to most of these things. So keep in mind, almost every disease that's going around, people end up catching it because they're malnourished. You look over at West Africa and go, I can tell, I can look at those children. They're definitely malnourished. It's easy. You look at them, you can see they're malnourished. And almost every case in the world of Ebola is over there. Okay? But you look at Americans and you go, Americans are well fed. No, Americans eat a lot. Americans are not well fed. Americans are amongst some of the most malnourished people in the United States. You may think that just because they're eating food doesn't means that they've got plenty. No, it doesn't. Are they stronger than those over there in West Africa? Absolutely. But Americans are very, very malnourished. It's like I've mentioned many times with a lot here, the simple subject of calcium. Americans take in more calcium than any other country on earth. American women take in 7 times more calcium than women in China, little tiny villages over in China. 7 times more calcium. And yet American women have 3 times as much osteoporosis as any other Asian over there. So just because you're eating or because you're taking in supplements doesn't mean that you're well nourished. Almost every American is malnourished, and that's why there's 35,000 deaths in the U.S. from the flu virus. I don't think the flu vaccine probably helps much either. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to talk about the basics of some of the plagues going around, and then we'll cover other topics. Towards the end of the lecture, I will be opening up to questions and answers on anything. I don't care what subject it is. What we talked about today or whatever else might be on your mind, we'll talk about. All right. So let's start off with Ebola. Okay, I already told you possibly up to 15,000 deaths so far have been from Ebola virus. It is a virus. Okay, every plague we're talking about at the moment is a virus, and I find it very interesting that it is a virus. Okay, we'll go into that here in just a minute. All right, again, the only cure that they have for it is good, supportive clinical care. Exactly what you do at home. Put them in bed, keep them well hydrated, blah, blah, blah. What they do is wrong, okay, and that's why we've had so many deaths going on over there besides malnourishment. They fight the fever, okay. I've told this to a bunch of you, just going to reiterate it for those that don't know. A fever is a good thing. If you learn nothing else from today other than good food and how to deal with a fever, you will learn so much. We've all been told when you have a fever, kill it. Okay, take an aspirin, take something else, whatever else they want to give you. Take an antibiotic. What's the first things they do? To kill a fever, all right? You just stop the body's immune system from working, okay? You stop the body's immune system from working. What goes on? When you're invaded by a bacteria or a virus, those little suckers, they're good at multiplying. They have thousands of years, millions of years of evolution to say, I'm going to populate as fast as I can and take over the host. Inside of you, you have all these things called T killer cells, macrophages, phagocytes. The list goes on and on and on of all these immune responses you have inside of you. They have evolved over millions of years to grow fast too, but viruses generally win. Viruses and bacteria generally grow faster than we do. So the body has a little thermostat in your brain, and it turns this thermostat up or down depending on what our needs are. It will turn the thermostat up, that's a fever, because our immune system requires heat. When the internal heat grows, we actually reproduce faster than the others. So this little war of who wins first, when we allow the body to have a fever, we can win the battle because we allow our body to heat up, okay? You will never go, I know this sounds big, and I'll talk about Dr. Mendelsohn here in a little bit. You will never have a fever above 106 or 107 unless you've had brain damage of some type. There was a trauma to the brain or something happened. You never will go higher than that. Now that sounds scary, you know, especially with nurses and all you're taught. Ooh, 106, 107, that is horrendous. You are going to burn up. And we'll actually see children that as they get a fever, sometimes children will actually have a convulsion, all right? And that's scary. Seeing a child have a convulsion with a fever is a very scary thing. It is not bad. It is not bad at all. A fever only occurs on the rise. A convulsion only occurs on the rise. In other words, the body's adapting to this new temperature. Once the fever hit where it's supposed to be, the convulsions will stop. All you do is just basic care for them. So, why are we taught about a fever? Why it's so damaging? Because we have not been taught how to deal with a fever. There's only two kinds, wet or dry, okay? Okay, a dry fever, as the cliche goes, will burn the house down, okay? It's kind of like watching a house burning and you just sit back and watch it. You don't spray any water on it. That's what happens to you. So, what is a wet fever? What's a wet fever?
It's basically hydration.
Hydration, that's it. Keep the body well hydrated, it will not burn out. It will survive. If you kill the fever, you killed most of your ability to fight whatever infection it was. Okay, be it bacterial or viral. All right, so keep it well hydrated, keep the electrolytes up, like the salts and things, you know, and the minerals. Keep them well balanced, you're gonna do just fine. Okay, we have a wonderful thing called a cold sheet treatment. It sounds very counterproductive. I know that some of the students remember this from class. Most of you don't know. This is gonna sound very, very strange. You will beat most viruses if you do what I'm about to tell you. Okay, it's called the cold sheet treatment. We have little booklets here on them too. And I can send you the information for free. It'll all be in here. A cold sheet treatment sounds very counterproductive. I remember when I was a kid, I remember I had a fever one time. And my parents called the doctor and said, he's got a fever. Okay, and he said, put me in a cold bath. And I did that, and I was not a happy camper. Like going in there, I felt fine, I just had a fever. You know, I just wanted to go to bed, and I wanted to go to sleep. That's what your body's telling you to do, to rest, to let the energy you have go towards fighting the disease.
Let me bring you songs from the woods to make you feel much better than you could know.